Chosen one, it's no accident you're hearing these words right now. Something in your heart brought you here, a deep thirst for renewal, a search for something more profound. In a world that seems to drain our energy every day, where weariness has become a constant companion and emotional exhaustion an almost unavoidable reality, you're seeking a breath of fresh life, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The powerful rejuvenation that's available to you. Before we continue, if this message resonates with your heart, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. In the comments, leave the phrase, "My strength is renewed each day," because this will be the start of your journey of transformation. We live in times where exhaustion isn't just physical, but reaches the depths of the soul. Have you ever caught yourself looking in the mirror, not just noticing the lines on your face, but perceiving a weariness in your eyes that reflects something much deeper? A fatigue that medicine can't cure, that vacations only temporarily alleviate. This kind of weariness, this premature aging of the soul, can't be reversed by conventional treatments. It requires something deeper, a renewing strength that works from the inside out, that reaches the most intimate layers of your being. The rejuvenation you seek doesn't come from magic formulas or empty promises, but from a genuine reconnection with the source of life. The good news is that there is a path to this renewal, a rejuvenation process that begins in the spirit, transforms the mind, and eventually manifests in the body and in all areas of your life. A transformation that defies natural expectations and injects vitality where before there was only resignation. Maybe you're in a moment of transition, feeling that something new is about to emerge in your life. Or maybe you're in a desert place, questioning whether there's still a possibility of renewal. Wherever you find yourself today, know that this is the perfect time to embrace divine rejuvenation. Prepare for a journey of rediscovery, not just of who you were, but of who you are destined to become. Because true rejuvenation isn't about going back to the past, but moving forward into a new dimension of vitality that you may never have experienced before. True rejuvenation always begins on the inside. Chosen one, this is a fundamental truth that many take years to understand. While the world chases external solutions, anti-aging creams, miracle diets, cosmetic procedures, the true fountain of youth springs from the depths of the human spirit, when it connects with the divine. Think of a lush and vigorous tree. What we see are the fruits, the green leaves, the robustness of the trunk. What we don't see, however, is the deep root system that constantly extracts nutrients and water from the depths of the earth. It's the same with spiritual rejuvenation. The vitality that others perceive in you, that inexplicable energy, that resilience that defies circumstances, comes from the invisible roots you cultivate in the quietness of your communion with God. Many of us try to live on the surface, concerned only with appearances and immediate results. Have you noticed how this way of life quickly drains our energy? It's like trying to keep a plant alive by only misting the leaves while the roots remain dry. It's not sustainable. Weariness sets in, motivation fades, and that feeling of heaviness, of premature aging of the soul, becomes our daily companion. Inner renewal happens when we allow our essence to be nourished by the source of all life. It's a movement of surrender and receptivity. It's not about adding another item to your to-do list, but about an inner posture of openness. You don't have to conquer this renewal through Herculean efforts. You need to allow it to flow to you and through you. There is a source of spiritual youth that never runs dry, that never loses its potency. When you drink from this fountain, something extraordinary happens. Your perspective changes, your energy is renewed, and that vitality that seemed lost begins to pulse again within you. It's as if every cell in your being awakens to a new life. Maybe you're wondering, how do I access this source of inner renewal? It begins with intentional moments of quiet. In a world that values relentless productivity, creating spaces of silence is almost an act of rebellion. In the silence, your soul can finally speak. In the silence, you can hear the whispers that are drowned out by the constant noise of modern life. Renewal also comes through contemplation of eternal truths. When you meditate on principles that transcend the fleeting trends of culture, Something in you aligns with the eternal. And what is more rejuvenating than connecting with that which never ages, never loses relevance? You may have met people who, despite their advanced age, radiate an inexplicable youthfulness. Their eyes sparkle with hope, their words carry wisdom without bitterness, and their presence transmits peace and vitality. The secret of these people rarely lies in strict regimens of physical care, but in the deep inner life they have cultivated over the years. Chosen one, this is the invitation for you today. Dive into the depths. Don't settle for superficial rejuvenations that last only as long as circumstances are favorable. Seek that renewal that comes from within, that flows from your connection with the eternal, and that continues to pour out even when everything around you suggests exhaustion and barrenness. The battle for rejuvenation is won or lost in the field of the mind. Chosen one, perhaps you have already tried various forms of renewal in your life, but if your mind remains trapped in old patterns, if your thoughts remain contaminated by limiting visions, the transformation you seek will always remain beyond your reach. Think for a moment. How many negative thoughts have crossed your mind in just the last 24 hours? How many times have you diminished yourself, doubted your potential, relived past failures, or anticipated future defeats? These mental patterns are like invisible chains that bind you to an aged and worn-out version of yourself. Each limiting thought is like a small dose of toxin that accelerates the aging of your soul. True renewal requires a complete transformation of the way you think. It's not just about replacing a few negative thoughts with positive affirmations. It's about a deep recalibration of your mindset, a realignment with higher perspectives that transcend appearances and temporary circumstances. Have you ever noticed how two people can face the same challenge and react in completely different ways? One sees only insurmountable obstacles and exhausts themselves in anxiety and fear. The other sees opportunities for growth and finds renewed energy to move forward. The difference isn't in the external situation, but in the lens through which each one interprets reality. The rejuvenation of the mind begins when you question your absolute truths. Those certainties you carry, "I'll always be this way," "It's too late for me," "People like me can't achieve that," need to be placed under the light of a higher truth. Many of these truths are just limited interpretations based on past experiences or external influences that you've absorbed throughout your life. When you start to replace these limiting perspectives with a higher vision, something extraordinary happens. Situations that previously seemed impossible begin to reveal new possibilities. Challenges that left you exhausted now become opportunities that release an unknown energy within you. It's as if an invisible weight is removed, allowing you to breathe deeply for the first time in a long time. This mental renewal doesn't happen automatically. It requires constant vigilance over your thoughts. It requires the courage to question deeply rooted beliefs. It requires the humility to recognize that perhaps, just perhaps, your way of seeing the world isn't the most accurate or the most elevated. Have you ever experienced those moments of sudden clarity when a new understanding illuminates your mind and everything seems to make sense in a way it never has before? That's the moment when a divine perspective touches your consciousness, elevating it above the usual limitations. These glimpses can become your constant mental state when you deliberately cultivate thoughts aligned with higher truths. The commitment to this mental renewal brings an extraordinary benefit. You begin to experience what many call a renewed mind, an ability to process life with a clarity, peace, and energy that defy chronological age and circumstances. Your mind doesn't just think different thoughts, it functions in a completely new way. As Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Chosen one, are you ready to abandon the distorted lenses through which you've been seeing your life? Are you willing to challenge those automatic thoughts that have been draining your vitality? Genuine rejuvenation awaits you on the other side of that decision. There is a deep and mysterious connection between our spiritual state and our physical condition that modern science has only begun to understand. Chosen one, perhaps you've already noticed this connection in your own life, how an emotional burden can manifest in physical pain, or how a moment of profound spiritual peace can bring a feeling of lightness to the body. It's no coincidence that many people who experience genuine inner rejuvenation begin to notice tangible changes in their physical appearance and vitality. We're not talking about instant miracles that reverse decades of aging overnight. We're talking about a gradual and natural process in which the renewal of the spirit overflows into the physical body. Think about how chronic stress affects your appearance, the worry lines that form, the posture slumped by the weight of anxieties, the tired look that reflects sleepless nights. Now, imagine the reverse process, as inner peace replaces constant anxiety as hope takes the place of despair. These physical marks of emotional wear and tear begin, slowly, to soften. Spiritual rejuvenation often awakens in us a new awareness of how we treat our bodies. When you begin to reconnect with your intrinsic worth, when you begin to see your body not just as a production machine, but as a living temple, your choices naturally change. Those self-destructive habits that once seemed irresistible, whether it's unhealthy eating, a sedentary lifestyle, or various addictions, lose their power when you reconnect with a greater purpose. As 1 Corinthians 6:19 says, "Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own." Have you observed how deeply spiritual people often radiate a kind of glow that transcends conventional beauty? There's a luminosity that comes from within that no cosmetic can replicate. This luminosity is the external reflection of a spirit that has found its center, its peace, its alignment with something greater than itself. Sleep, that natural restorer of the body, also benefits enormously from spiritual renewal. When your mind is no longer running in circles of worry, when your heart is no longer agitated by unresolved resentments, deep and restorative sleep becomes possible again. And we all know how a good night's sleep can literally transform our appearance and energy the next day. There is also something powerful in the simple act of genuinely smiling, not the forced smile of social photographs, but the one that springs naturally when your spirit is light and at peace. This simple facial movement activates muscles that we rarely use in our states of habitual worry. Studies show that the act of smiling not only reflects happiness, but can also induce it, creating a positive cycle that affects the whole body. It's important to note that this physical rejuvenation that follows spiritual renewal doesn't eliminate the reality of natural aging. Our bodies continue their journey through time. The difference lies in the quality of that journey. Instead of aging marked by bitter wear and tear and desperate resistance, you can experience a natural process filled with grace, acceptance, and even beauty. Chosen one, your body is incredibly responsive to the state of your spirit. When you nurture your soul, when you allow peace to flow through you, when you cultivate thoughts of gratitude and hope, your body responds. Perhaps not with dramatic changes overnight, but with sustained vitality that defies expectations and transcends mere physical appearance. The divine rejuvenation that begins on the inside inevitably overflows into our relationships. Chosen one, perhaps one of the most painful areas of human life, is the wear and tear that happens in relationships over time. That friendship that was once vibrant now seems distant and cold. That family relationship that should be a source of joy has become a minefield of unresolved tensions. That marriage that began with so many promises now seems only a shadow of what it could have been. There's a fundamental principle that many take decades to understand. The state of our external relationships is a direct reflection of our inner state. When we harbor bitterness, when we nurture resentments, when we cling to past offenses, we create an invisible prison that not only imprisons us, but contaminates every interaction we have with others. As Hebrews 12:15 warns, "See to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many become defiled." The true miracle begins to happen when we allow the process of inner renewal to reach those wounded areas of the heart. It's like opening windows in a house that has remained closed for too long. Fresh air begins to circulate, replacing the stagnant atmosphere with something new and invigorating. Relationships that seemed hopelessly compromised begin to show signs of life again. Have you noticed how it's almost impossible to hold a grudge against someone when your own heart is experiencing renewal? Those offenses that once seemed unforgivable begin to lose their power over you. Not because they've become less real or because you're minimizing the pain, but because you're finding a greater perspective, an expanded capacity for understanding and compassion. This relational renewal often begins with healing the wounds we carry from childhood. Many of us, even without realizing it, project the pains and unmet expectations of the past onto current relationships. We react not to the person in front of us, but to the ghosts of old relationships that still haunt our hearts. When divine rejuvenation touches these deep areas, we find a liberation that allows us to see others as they really are, not as symbols of our past wounds. One of the most beautiful transformations of this process is the rediscovery of the ability to trust. The aged and wounded heart builds walls, protections that seem necessary, but that ultimately become prisons that prevent both pain and love from reaching us. As your heart renews, you begin to find that wise balance between vulnerability and discernment. The walls give way to healthy boundaries, allowing genuine connections again. Think of the relationships that most need renewal in your life right now. Maybe it's a marriage that has lost its vitality. Maybe it's a family relationship marked by chronic misunderstandings. Or maybe it's friendships that slowly distance themselves for no apparent reason. The rejuvenation of these connections won't come primarily from communication techniques or from trying to change the other person. It will come when you allow your own inner transformation to overflow into these relationships. There's an incomparable beauty in rejuvenated relationships. They carry the depth that only time and trials can bring, combined with the freshness of a new beginning. They're like old trees that, against all expectations, bloom again, their deep roots now nurturing a renewed expression of life. Chosen. 1. Your relationships aren't condemned to the progressive wear and tear that the world considers inevitable. There is a path of renewal that begins with your own heart and extends to every person in your life. As Galatians 6:9 reminds us, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. One of the most evident signs of premature aging of the soul is the loss of purpose and passion. Chosen one, do you remember those moments in your life when you woke up with an inner fire, with a clarity about your mission, with an enthusiasm that made even the simplest tasks meaningful? For many, these memories seem distant, as if they belonged to someone else, to a younger version of themselves that got lost along the way. The world has a ready explanation for this phenomenon. They say it's natural to lose enthusiasm as the years go by, that pragmatism replaces dreams, that routine inevitably stifles passion. That's how life works, whisper the voices of resignation. But there is a deeper truth that challenges this narrative of inevitable decline. Divine rejuvenation brings with it a powerful rediscovery of your original purpose. It's not about inventing something new to give meaning to your days. It's about reconnecting with that unique mission that has always been inscribed at the core of your being, that calling that resonates with who you really are, beyond the roles you play and the masks you've learned to wear. As Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Have you witnessed the sparkle in the eyes of someone who rediscovered their purpose after years of walking without direction? It's as if a light turns on from the inside out. Suddenly, the energy that seemed exhausted flows again. Decisions that previously seemed confusing become clear. A resilience that defies logic emerges in the face of obstacles. This is the rejuvenating power of living aligned with your deepest calling. Many of us lose contact with our purpose not because it disappeared, but because it was suffocated by layers of external expectations, commitments made without discernment, and limited definitions of success that we absorbed from the culture around us. Like a seed covered by rocks and debris, our purpose remains alive, waiting for us to remove the obstacles so that it can germinate and flourish again. The rejuvenation process invites us to ask courageous questions. What really matters to me? What values are non-negotiable in my life? What unique gifts and talents do I possess that can contribute to something greater than myself? What makes me lose track of time when I'm doing it? These aren't indulgent or selfish questions. They are portals to reconnecting with that authentic version of yourself that may have been dormant under the weight of responsibilities and disappointments. As you allow these questions to resonate within you, something extraordinary begins to happen. Those passions that you thought had died begin to show signs of life. Those dreams that you had archived as unrealistic or for another time in life begin to whisper again in your heart. It's no coincidence. It's the awakening of your authentic self, of that part of you that never forgot who you really are and what you came to do in this world. This awakening doesn't necessarily mean abandoning your current responsibilities or promoting drastic changes in your external life. For many, the rejuvenation of purpose happens exactly where they are, through a new perspective that brings renewed meaning to the roles they already play. The entrepreneur rediscovers the positive impact they can have on the lives of their employees and customers. The mother recognizes the transformative power of raising conscious and compassionate children. The teacher sees beyond the transmission of content to the privilege of shaping the future through young minds. Chosen one, the call to rediscover your purpose isn't an optional luxury in the rejuvenation process. It's an essential component, because nothing rejuvenates a life more deeply than reconnecting with the reason that life was given. As Ephesians 2:10 states, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works which God prepared in advance for us to do." It would be dishonest to talk about divine rejuvenation without addressing the challenges inherent in this process. Chosen one, perhaps you've already noticed that the most significant transformations rarely happen without resistance. The path of renewal isn't a straight and smooth road, but a journey with obstacles that test our determination and refine our character. One of the first challenges that many face is internal resistance to change. Even when we're dissatisfied with our current condition, there's a part of us that clings to the familiar, however uncomfortable it may be. It's what psychologists call the comfort zone, that space where, even with limitations, we know exactly what to expect. Rejuvenation requires that we abandon this false security and venture into unknown territories of growth. Have you ever felt that inner hesitation when you were about to take a significant step toward your renewal? That voice that whispers, "What if it doesn't work out? What if it's just a phase? What if you're not able to sustain this change?" This is the natural resistance of the ego, which prefers the predictability of the known, even if painful, to the uncertainty of the new, even if promising. Another challenge comes from the external environment. When you begin to experience genuine rejuvenation, not everyone around you will celebrate this transformation. Some, unconsciously, may feel threatened by your renewal. Your growth may mirror their stagnation. Your new choices may question the accommodations they've made. And so, subtly or openly, forces may arise that try to pull you back into the old pattern. There's also the challenge of temporary setbacks. The process of rejuvenation is rarely linear. There will be days when you'll feel as if you've gone back to square one, as if all the progress has been an illusion. In those moments, it's easy to give in to discouragement and conclude that deep transformation isn't for you. But these apparent setbacks are an integral part of the journey. They're not failures, but opportunities for deeper integration of the lessons learned. As Romans 5:3-5 says, "Suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us." One of the most subtle challenges is that of impatience. We live in a culture of instant gratification, where quick results are not only desired but expected. True rejuvenation, however, works at a different pace. Like a growing tree, there are moments of visible expansion and moments where growth happens below the surface, invisible to the eyes. Wisdom lies in respecting this organic rhythm without forcing processes that have their own time to mature. Perfectionism can also become a significant obstacle. Many abandon the path of renewal because they compare their imperfect journey with polished ideals they see in others. Remember, those you admire for their vitality and renewal have also faced and continue to face their own struggles and imperfections. Rejuvenation isn't about achieving a perfect state, but about embracing a continuous process of growth. Finally, there's the challenge of isolation. The journey of deep renewal often leads us along solitary paths, where we need to confront truths about ourselves that others may not understand. In those moments, the temptation to abandon the process in the name of belonging can be powerful. Remember, however, that after this solitary crossing, you'll emerge able to form more authentic and profound connections than you've ever experienced before. Chosen one, the challenges on the path of rejuvenation aren't punishments or signs that you're going in the wrong direction. They are opportunities for strengthening, invitations to deepen your determination and refine your commitment to the journey of renewal. As James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." There's a dimension of divine rejuvenation that transcends personal benefit and extends to the world around you. Chosen one, have you noticed how certain people seem to radiate an energy that affects everyone in their presence? How some individuals bring with them an almost palpable atmosphere of hope and possibility? This is the natural effect of someone who has experienced genuine renewal. They become beacons in a world often marked by cynicism and despair. As Matthew 5:16 says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." In times where collective weariness is evident, where so many walk with their heads down, burdened by worries and disillusionments, your personal renewal acquires a significance that goes far beyond your individual experience. It becomes a living testimony that there is another possible path, another way to navigate the challenges of existence. Without saying a word, your transformed life proclaims a powerful message to those who are exhausted and hopeless. Think of the last time you encountered someone genuinely rejuvenated, not just in physical appearance, but someone whose presence conveyed vitality, purpose, and inner peace. Remember how you felt in the presence of that person. You probably experienced a mixture of curiosity, admiration, and perhaps even a longing to experience whatever it was that produced that visible transformation. That's how you begin to impact others when you embrace your own rejuvenation process. This impact rarely comes from deliberate attempts to influence or convince others. In fact, the more you focus on appearing rejuvenated to impress, the less authentic and attractive your transformation will be. The true power comes when you simply live from that place of inner renewal, allowing it to overflow naturally into your interactions, decisions, and relationships. In a world where many desperately seek signs of hope, your renewed life becomes tangible evidence that restoration is possible. For the co-worker who struggles against professional cynicism, your renewed attitude offers a glimpse of a different way to face challenges. For the friend going through an existential crisis, your clarity of purpose ignites a small flame of possibility. For the family member trapped in self-destructive patterns, your liberation silently declares that change is possible. No matter how long someone has been imprisoned, there is a sacred responsibility that comes with rejuvenation. It's not a treasure to be guarded selfishly or displayed with pride, but a gift to be shared with generosity and humility. When you allow others to witness not only your transformation, but also your ongoing journey with its struggles and triumphs, you offer something infinitely more valuable than advice or theories. You offer hope incarnate. As 2 Corinthians 1:3-4 says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble, with the comfort we ourselves have received from God." This is a form of leadership that the world desperately needs, not necessarily from formal platforms or positions of authority, but through the silent example of transformed lives. In ancient times, lighthouses were built to guide ships through dangerous waters, especially on dark and stormy nights. Similarly, your rejuvenated life serves as a point of reference for those navigating turbulent seas of confusion, pain, or despair. As Matthew 5:14-16 says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Chosen one, never underestimate the impact that your personal renewal can have on the world around you. When you allow inner transformation to manifest in every aspect of your life, you not only experience rejuvenation for yourself, but also become a catalyst for hope and renewal for countless others who cross your path. True rejuvenation isn't a one-time event or an instantaneous transformation, but an ongoing process sustained by intentional daily practices. Chosen one, perhaps you've already experienced those moments of intense renewal, those spiritual highs that seem to elevate you to a new level of vitality and clarity. But you may also have noticed how those moments, when not anchored in consistent habits, tend to dissipate in the face of the pressures and distractions of everyday life. The analogy of the garden offers us a valuable perspective. A vibrant and flourishing garden doesn't arise from sporadic and intense efforts, but from consistent care throughout the seasons. Similarly, your inner rejuvenation requires regular attention, a commitment to practices that nurture and protect the new life that is sprouting within you. One of the most fundamental disciplines for maintaining your rejuvenation is creating regular spaces of silence and solitude. In a world that values constant noise and uninterrupted connectivity, setting aside moments to simply be, without external stimuli, without pressure to produce or respond, becomes almost an act of rebellion. It's in these moments of quiet that the murky waters of the soul settle and clarity emerges again. As Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." The power of gratitude as a daily practice cannot be underestimated. When you deliberately direct your attention to recognize and appreciate the blessings in your life, from the most obvious to the easily ignored, something transforms in your neurology. Studies show that the consistent practice of gratitude not only improves psychological well-being, but also strengthens the immune system and increases physical vitality. It's one of the simplest and most powerful habits for sustaining your rejuvenation. Another essential practice is regular engagement with words and ideas that elevate your perspective. Just as your body is affected by what you consume physically, your mind and spirit are deeply influenced by your mental consumption. Dedicating time daily to absorb content that inspires, challenges, and expands your vision is like providing premium nutrients for your inner garden. As Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." Intentional physical movement also plays a crucial role in maintaining rejuvenation. It's not necessarily about rigorous exercise regimens, but about honoring your body as an integral part of your being through some form of regular movement. Walking in nature, practicing yoga, dancing, any activity that connects you with your physical body while releasing tension and increasing the circulation of vital energy. The practice of forgiveness, both offered and received, is perhaps one of the most challenging and transformative disciplines. Unresolved resentments function like toxins in the system, draining your vitality and obstructing the flow of renewal. Developing the habit of identifying and releasing these resentments, not as a favor to others, but as an act of self-liberation, is essential for maintaining your rejuvenation. As Ephesians 4:32 says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." Equally important is the discipline of discernment in your social connections. Some relationships nurture your renewal process, while others can drain or even sabotage that process. Consciously cultivating bonds with people who support your growth and establishing healthy boundaries with those who diminish you isn't selfishness. It's an essential practice of spiritual self-care. Finally, there's the discipline of consciously celebrating every sign of renewal in your life. Learning to recognize and honor even the smallest indications of transformation creates a positive cycle that fuels more growth. Instead of focusing solely on the final destination, the practice of celebrating milestones along the way keeps you motivated and engaged in the ongoing process of rejuvenation. Chosen one, these practices aren't magic formulas, but channels through which continuous renewal can flow into your life. When incorporated into your daily rhythm, they create an inner environment where rejuvenation isn't just an occasional event, but a sustainable state of being. Chosen One, we've reached the end of this journey of exploration about divine rejuvenation, but in reality, we're only at the beginning of your personal experience of renewal. Everything we've shared so far, the inner transformation, the renewal of the mind, the impact on physical well-being, the restoration of relationships, the rediscovery of purpose, the overcoming of challenges, the impact on others, and the daily practices are just facets of a greater truth. You were created to live a full, vibrant, and constantly renewed life. What does it really mean to live as a chosen one, rejuvenated? It's not escaping reality or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's not a promise of perfection or an absence of difficulties. It's the ability to face each day with a vitality that transcends circumstances, with a clarity that doesn't let itself be obscured by temporary problems, with a hope that isn't based on naive optimism, but on a deep connection with the source of all life. As Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Look around you. Observe those who have traversed decades, maintaining a sparkle in their eyes and a resilience that defies superficial explanations. What they have in common isn't the absence of trials. Many have faced challenges that would have crushed less strengthened spirits. What distinguishes them is the way they allowed those same trials to become catalysts for a deeper rejuvenation. The storms that should have knocked down the tree ended up strengthening its roots. There's an urgency in this call to rejuvenation that we cannot ignore, not because time is running out, but because every day lived in the premature old age of the soul, every day marked by avoidable weariness, unnecessary exhaustion, resignation that stifles potential, is a day that can never be recovered. The renewal you postpone today is the vitality you deny not only yourself, but to all those who could be touched by your transformed life. As Galatians 6:10 says, "Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers." The world desperately needs chosen ones who have rediscovered the secret of rejuvenation. In a global landscape marked by increasing cynicism, by bitter divisions, and by a widespread sense of futility, your renewed life becomes a powerful testament that there is another way. You become living evidence that it's possible to age chronologically while renewing inwardly, that it's possible to face reality with open eyes without losing hope, that it's possible to carry wisdom without carrying bitterness. But this rejuvenation won't happen automatically. It requires a decision, not just once but repeatedly. The decision to open yourself to renewal even when it seems impossible. The decision to practice the disciplines that sustain vitality even when the results aren't immediately visible. The decision to believe that you were created for more than just surviving, but for thriving and flourishing, regardless of your age or circumstances. As 2 Corinthians 4:16 says, "Therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day." Chosen One, as we conclude this reflection, I want to leave you with not just information or passing inspiration, but an invitation to a continuous journey of rejuvenation. A journey that will begin with small steps today, perhaps a moment of silence, perhaps a decision to forgive, perhaps a reorientation of your priorities, but that will continue to unfold into transformations that you can barely imagine now. Always remember, divine rejuvenation isn't a luxury reserved for a privileged few. It's your inheritance, your birthright as a chosen one. Accept it, embrace it, live it fully, and watch as day after day you become more alive, more authentic, more vibrant, rejuvenated from the inside out by the transforming power that never runs dry. As John 10:10 declares, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." May you experience that life to the full, today and every day.